We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say, you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Women's Golf Through the Decades. Tonight we have a real special group. We have the pioneers behind the women's golf program, the varsity program here at Bucknell, and we're really excited for the guests that we have joining head coach Lisa Francisco and one of our current student athletes, Tatum Mckelvey from Sewickley, Pennsylvania. We're really happy that she's able to join the call tonight. We thank her for that. My name's Todd Newcomb, and I want to thank Geisinger as our sponsor for tonight's session. Geisinger has been absolutely fantastic throughout the pandemic, and they do a great job day in and day out with our student athletes here at Bucknell. So thank you to Geisinger for all that they do. Let me get right to it and introduce our guest for tonight's session before I turn it over to Coach. Our first guest is from the class of 1999, and I'm going to introduce our ladies tonight by their maiden name, because that's the name you most likely will recognize if you're a Bucknellian or a fan of the Bucknell Women's Golf Program. Our first guest is Chris Boshin from the class of 99. She lettered that year. That was, of course, the first year, 98-99 of the varsity program. And she was one of a trio of seniors on the initial varsity golf team. Our next guest from the class of 2001 is Heather Mann. Heather was a 3-year letter winner, and she finished 4th at the individual Patriot League Championship in 1998. Our next guest from the class of 2002 is Hilary Manka. Hilary was a 4-year letter winner and the team captain in both 1999 and 2000. She led the team in scoring average in the fall of 1998 and the spring of 2001. She captured the silver medal at the individual Patriot League Championship in 1998, and she won the gold medal at the individual Patriot League tournament in both 1999 and 2000. And our next guest from the class of 2003 is Molly Campbell. Molly was a 4-year letter winner for the Bison. She led the team in scoring average in the fall of 99, 2000, and 2002, and also in the spring of 2000. She finished as the runner-up on a match of cards at the individual Patriot League Championship in 2000. Molly also finished 20th overall at the 2003 Big South Championship, the first year the Bison competed in the Big South Conference. And our next guest really needs no introduction if you know anything about Bucknell athletics. But our next guest is Brad Tufts. Brad served the Bucknell Athletic Department for over 30 years as either a coach or administrator. He was the men's golf coach from 1967 to 75 and led his teams to Middle Atlantic Conference championships in 1967 and 1973. His men's teams posted an impressive 80-38 dual match record, and Tufts became the first ever coach of the Bucknell Women's Golf Program in 1998 and retired from coaching and Bucknell following the 2000 spring season. He served in various administrative roles, including Sports Information Director, Associate Director of Public Relations, Director of Information Services, Assistant and Associate Director of Athletics, and Interim Director of Athletics. To this day, Brad continues to serve as a member of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Brad himself was inducted into the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2000. So Lisa, we've got an outstanding group, a lot of history here on this call. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Todd, and welcome everybody. I'm so glad that we're able to get together. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy lives right now to join us to have some conversation. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know you all better and to hearing about your great memories as a Bucknell women's golfer. Or Brad, I talked to you several times, and every time I talk to you, Brad, I learned something new about the women's golf program. So I'm really looking forward to it. So my first question is for everybody. And before we begin to share those great memories of your time at Bucknell, can you update us on what you're doing, where you're living, your career, family, and why don't you go first?
Great. Hi, thank you so much for having me here. My married name is Molly Rarig. I guess after college, I ended up getting a job in New Jersey and was a software engineer for the U.S. Army as a civilian for 10 years. And then ultimately I grew up in Minnesota. And so then I moved back to Minnesota and worked for a couple more years remotely. And then now I'm actually kind of paused for my work career while I have 3 kids at home that I'm working to, especially right now, trying to get them where they need to be and everything. But I've still continued to kind of pursue some educational things. I was on a board of the Cloud Security Alliance with some cybersecurity type stuff. And then also actually a fellow classmate, a fellow golfer, Amy Jones, introduced me to plant-based nutrition. So I'm I got certified in plant-based nutrition, and I'm enjoying kind of learning about that. So that's what I've been up to.
Great, thank you. Heather, how about you?
Sure, thank you for having me. After Bucknell, I went back to school for many, many years. I got my master's degree in economics and my PhD in educational measurement and statistics. I've been working as a senior research scientist at Educational Testing Service in Princeton, New Jersey for 11 years now. And my husband and my 2 sons and I moved back to my hometown of Burlington, New Jersey about 6 years ago. We lived there to be closer with my family. And my 2 sons are into golf. They're, going to golf camp and playing in the backyard. So it's pretty exciting. Thank you for having me.
That's awesome. Future Bucknellians on your hands there?
Maybe.
Hilary, go ahead.
Thank you again. This is awesome. I was just thinking right before I joined, this is so fantastic that you put this together. Okay, so upon graduation, I started a career in finance at a Big 4 accounting firm. I was there in that role for about 8 years. And with working with the people that I worked with, I transitioned into a tax role in international tax, transfer pricing, and did that for about 5 years. And then from there moved on to a big commercial real estate firm, did that for 2 years, and then recently decided that I think I want to try to do something different. Well, then this pandemic happened. So it was poor timing to leave your job, but it's fine. It's great. I've been spending a ton of time with my family, which is outstanding, and I'm sure I'll land on my feet. I think I want to do something 100% different from what I was doing, something more people-oriented, and something where I could excel a little better, that wasn't so pigeonholed and technical. With respect to life, otherwise, I just built this. So I just moved into this new house about 2 months ago, and that's why it's an echo chamber. So we're getting closer to putting things together. And so I'm in suburban Philadelphia. My family's nearby. I have a younger sister. She's a Bucknell graduate as well. And I'm married to a Bucknellian. So I think we have my 3-year-old nephew will probably follow in all of our footsteps. But no, we've had a wonderful experience with Bucknell. Yes, and otherwise, yeah, just keeping busy. I'm playing golf. I'm on a board. I received my MBA from Villanova University about a year ago, so that's good. Finished that up, and I'm on a Villanova board for scholarships. I've worked with the Pennsylvania State Women's Golf Association, was a board member there, in terms of running tournaments and also getting young girls involved in it. And yeah, I mean, keeping busy. I play in our local team matches for probably since I was like 16 years old. So we'll keep doing that as long as we're allowed to. So I keep competitive, not as much as I used to, but I'm trying. And this was the year I was really getting excited to like get back into it. And then they shut down all the golf courses. So I was like, all right. So, but, and also I've taken up, well, not recently, but like within the past 10 years, trap shooting is my new thing now. So I don't know, it's keep yourself busy and find new hobbies and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks again, too, for doing this. And I'll echo what all of my teammates have previously said. I think this is great that the athletics department is taking this on as an initiative and recording back all of these great memories that we all have. I agree, too. It's so much fun to see everybody out there tonight via Zoom as we all are doing most all the time now. So yeah, I graduated in 1999. I'm the dinosaur of the group here. And after Bucknell, I spent my first 7 years after Bucknell working in politics. Actually, I lived in Virginia, Atlanta. I lived for Wisconsin in a year. I lived in Las Vegas, New York City. I was all over the place, and loved that. And then in 2006, I have what I call my mid-20s career crisis, and decided it was time to get out of politics and figure out something else to do with my life. So at the age of 28, I took a big pay cut and I went to go work for a sports marketing agency. And I was lucky enough to spend 10 years there. I worked on BMW. I worked on CA when they were a PGA Tour sponsor. That was actually my first job when I started there, working in golf, and I was thrilled. And I've had the opportunity to travel internationally. I worked on FIFA World Cup with AB InBev, on the NBA draft with JBL, Harman Kardon. And in the last 4 years, almost 4 years now, I'm now at MetLife. I'm the director of global partnerships. So in my role there, I oversee our relationship with the PGA Tour and MetLife Stadium, as most everyone on this call is probably familiar with, and then our relationship with the New York Giants and the New York Jets. So I've been able to parlay my love of golf personally into a profession, and I'm loving that I have been able to do that.
Wow, that's awesome. We need to talk later. No,
definitely.
I do too.
And she's a club champion too.
Oh,
well, yes.
Great. Brad, tell us what you've been up to.
Oh gosh, I'm not going to go all the way back and things like this. As y'all know, came down here to Hilton Head, and Betty and I moved down here beginning of September of 2000. We built a house here. I played a lot of golf, and it was great. And actually I coached the Hilton Head High School girls golf team for 3 seasons, and we won 2 state championships. I inherited some good stuff there, but then Betty was diagnosed with lymphoma in the spring of 2003, and we had some good times after that, some bad times, and lost her in July of 2009. And then I remarried in 2014 and moved over to Hilton Head, changed a different area, but and I'm back playing a little golf now. I can't take the heat in the summertime, really seriously, but I finally shot my age. I should have done it a long time ago, but I mean, I've had hundreds of rounds equal to or better than my current age, but none when I was my current age. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing now. I've been on the board of the Boys and Girls Club here for a little over 18 years, and that's my main outside activity.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I saw you shot your age. I saw that on Facebook. I was really happy for you. That's great. Congratulations. All right, ladies, take us back to the beginning and tell us about your recruiting experience and how you ultimately chose to play golf at Bucknell. Molly, why don't you start us out?
Okay, so I was the class, I started in the fall of 1999. So I think I recall correctly, but in my senior year, I remember having some phone conversations with Coach Tufts, and you know, he was just really nice and interested, and encouraged me to come visit campus. I probably waited till, I'm pretty sure I had about a couple days before you had to make your final decision on, you know, where you were going to go. So May, maybe. My dad booked us a flight, and we came out to Bucknell, and it was a gorgeous spring weekend. Everybody was out on the lawn doing everything people do when it finally gets nice out. And I just remember, you know, going to the golf course, which was a mile away, which was a huge selling point, and you know, just felt like what I envisioned college to be. I stayed with Bridget O'Mara for my overnight, and it was fun to meet her friends and stay in a dorm and kind of, you know, again, feel like what college would feel like. And at that time too, I was also looking at basketball. So I met with the basketball coach and the basketball team, and they were awesome as well. So it was just really fun, you know, to meet Coach Tufts in person and have him, you know, show us around. And it was just felt like the right fit.
Great, thank you. Heather, how about you?
Yes, golf was not a varsity sport when I came to Bucknell in 1997, but I did come playing varsity softball. I started in the fall. And even before I came, my heart was starting to get out of it. I was a little burnt out. Back in high school, I started to play golf my junior year. I did both golf and softball. So at some point, my freshman year, I talked to Coach Tufts, and it was a club sport at that point. And I feel like it was like 2 seconds when I decided I wanted to do it as a club sport. And then we got the great news that it was going varsity. So I was really happy about that. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Hilary?
Similar type experience as Molly. I had visited a lot of schools. I had been looking a lot of different places for a D1 program, ideally, or D3. It was fine. But it was, so there's a backstory to all of this, and I'll try to keep it short. Is the first time I visited Bucknell, our family drove by it. We missed it. Then came in, and I said, I'm not getting out of the car. And then it was actually in speaking with Coach Tufts, and then same story as Molly. It was 2 days before. I had visited another school, which is located, a Patriot League school located in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which we named nameless. I visited there, exactly. And then I came back to Bucknell, and I just knew. And that was it for me. It was this gorgeous sunny day, and then I met again with Coach Tufts, and it was honestly the day before you send in the check, and it was just a gift for 4 years since then. So that's my story.
That's great. It was meant to be then, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Chris, how about you?
My story is completely different because, like Heather said, when I was a freshman and sophomore, there was no women's golf program whatsoever. So my spring of my sophomore year, Bucknell was doing kind of a life lessons 101 kind of things. And it was, how to properly go out to a fancy restaurant and which fork you use. And I'm sure there were other things, but I remember there was a golf 101 kind of thing. And it was Tuesdays and Thursdays in April in the spring, and over the lunch hour from like 12 to 1. And Sid Jamison, who was the men's lacrosse coach at the time, was running it. And I had played golf sort of kind of growing up. I came from a really big golfing family, but we weren't members of a club or anything like that. So I had never actually even played 18 holes of golf when I started at Bucknell. And I'm out on this thing and doing this seminar, and Coach Jamison was like, your golf swing's not so bad. And lo and behold, like 2 days later, all of a sudden Coach Tufts is out there and like literally checking out my golf swing and came up to me and said, hey, I think we're starting a club team. Do you want to play golf? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So lo and behold, got to participate on the club level. And then when we were upgraded to a varsity program, I became a D1 varsity athlete, which I never would have guessed the day that I stepped onto Bucknell's campus.
That's awesome. That is a great story.
You weren't nervous at all on the first tee at Dartmouth, were you?
No, not at all. And as I was going to say, I'll just lead in with this story now because I'm sure Hilary and Heather remember it. But my senior year, then in the fall of 1998, we played at the ECAC tournament in Connecticut. And as coach reminded me, Susie Whaley at the time was the head pro there, which looking back is now really cool. But it was a 2-day tournament, I think Friday and Saturday. And I finished dead last on day one. I have no idea how many people were even in the field, but whoever spoke at dinner then that night talked about, someone out there is in first place and someone in there is in last place. And we all burst out laughing at the table because it was me. I was in last place. So that was one of my, while very embarrassing, very fun memories that I had of the team.
But she had funny. A great second round, right?
I really did. I bounced back big time on day 2, and I did not finish last in the tournament. I think it was actually one of my best rounds.
Even better.
That was one of the best things that year. We were so inexperienced, but with Hill and Bridget keeping us in there, we never finished last in the tournament. All the other schools had older programs than we did, and it was, relatively speaking, Chris's second round of the ECACs was probably our best round of the year.
That's great.
I
Thanks,
think,
Brad.
Chris, you improved by 20 strokes from day 1 to day 2.
Yeah.
What?
I know that because I did all this research on you guys.
On day 1.
Yeah. She shot 104 in that second round, right?
You're pretty good, Brad.
Oh my gosh. So Brad, tell us, how did you wind up at Bucknell and what kept you there for 3+ decades?
Okay, it was 4+ decades. It was really crazy. I procrastinated. I had a term paper due in a history course at Colgate that I had not turned in at the end of the last class session, and I had to turn it in sometime before graduation to pass the course. And I needed to pass the course to graduate because I had just the minimum number of hours for my major. So I did a little work on it, putzed around, and after my finals were done in 2 days, and instead of going down to the Jersey Shore with a lot of the other guys in the class, I had to stay around and finish that paper. And I did a little bit each day, and I finally turned it in on a Tuesday. Commencement was the following Monday after that. And I was waiting around. My parents were going to fly in from California. I got to pick them up in New York. I was waiting around, and on Wednesday, I got a call at the fraternity house from my boss. I'd worked in the sports information office for 3 years. And my boss called me and he said he'd gotten a call from Bucknell, from Trenny Isley, who was the director of public relations, and they were looking for a sports information director. Did you have anybody to recommend? He said, I definitely do. He called me, gave me the number. I called her, set up an interview for the day after commencement, and 3 weeks to the day after I was offered the job, and 3 weeks to the day after commencement, started working there. I thought I'd be there for a couple of years. I was there for 41. When Harold Evans decided to give up the golf coaching, I was asked to coach the team. Actually, Todd Wendell Smith asked Dave Martin first, but Dave didn't want, so I did that for 8.5 years. And then, as I said, I'd hoped to start the women's team in '95, but we did just finally '98. So but I was there. After being there for a while, never really looked for anything after that, particularly as the girls were getting ready to college. I needed those benefits.
Yeah, that's great. Tate, why don't you go ahead and ask one of your questions?
Hi, everyone. So my name's Tatum. I'm currently a sophomore on the team. And one of my questions is, what advice would you give me or any of the other players in our program about the college golf experience at Bucknell? Heather, who wants to start?
Sorry. I was going to say, I'll stick with the same order. I guess my advice would be, in addition to focus on course management, which I'm still working on today, but you can never, course management all the way, I think. But also, I think that I've learned a lot about strength training and even nutrition that would be really helpful. I kind of wish I would have known it a lot sooner than I am just now learning a lot of it. So that, and then, course management would be my advice.
Thank you.
I would just say to soak in all the opportunities you can to do things with your team. I love seeing Lisa's emails about all the different charity things you guys are working on and team building things. I think, when we first started, we were sort of, our social aspect was sort of building up, and we didn't have that as much as you guys do now. And that's something that I missed, I think. So just take advantage of that.
We could have used that practice facility you guys have too.
That would be nice.
I think it's beautiful. My goodness. Yes.
It's fantastic.
Tatum, I would say my recommendation for you and your teammates would just be enjoy every single minute that you have of this opportunity. I look back on it and it went by so fast. I enjoyed every single minute of it so much. And then you get out into the real world, and newsflash, you have to pay for your own golf when you graduate from college. Like, then you don't play golf as much nearly anymore. It took me probably 10 years until I started playing again, and had the time and capabilities to do so. And now, as coach says, I'm in his backyard every weekend. But, I think the experience, the camaraderie that you're building, and just the 4 years that you get in that Bucknell bubble are so, so special. And what I wouldn't give to go back even just for a day to relive that. I couldn't even tell you how much I would love to do that.
And since I'm last, I'm going to say everything that Molly, Heather, and Chris just said is 100% true. And what I would add is, I guess from a golf perspective, well, all right, I'm going to go back, is from the time, I don't know, for me, it was the time that we spent in the van and in the hotel rooms is like, that is time you cannot take back. Like, so absorb all these little itty bitty moments, or the time you're out there putting until it's dark, and then grabbing dinner at the CAF or whatever it's called now. But it's those little moments that are amazing. And then from a golf perspective is, I guess, I don't know, we had this thing, and I always used to say it to Molly's group or whatever, put it in a bubble and blow it away. So you can blow up an entire hole, and there's nothing you can do about it. It could be the second hole, or it could be the 16th hole. There's nothing you can do about it, but you still have that additional hole. So just think of it from that perspective. It's like, oh, I blew my whole round, forget it, I don't care, I'm just gonna stare at the ground for the next whatever. No, you always have an opportunity to improve on that. And it's not like you're trying to make it up, but it's like, okay, so some mistake will happen, and let's not freak out too much about it, because you can always move forward, and yourself, and your capabilities. And it's like, all right, well, we can. So what Chris was saying with respect to her ECAC experience or whatever, the first round happened, and then she improved it by 20 strokes. So there's always an opportunity to do something that you can improve. So yes, don't freak out too much about it if you make a mistake, because yourself, and then also your teammates, and they're all looking out for you too. And that's what I always experience with my team is, okay, maybe I had a bad day today, but I have 4 other people who are playing with me, and they're trying their hardest too, to do the best that they can for our team. This isn't an individual sport. A lot of people think it's an individual sport, but when you're playing on a team, you're all acting for the same common goal. That's what I think.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ed, you can add to that if you want.
But no, what they said is great. I just used to tell everybody, just enjoy every minute. There'd be Tatum, teammates, in particular the younger ones, sometimes the first years have had a strange first year, but there's some days, sometimes you think the day is never going to end and you just can't wait to get something over. But it just goes all too fast. It's just much too fast. And then my bad news for all you guys is the years go faster, each one. But it's no, just enjoy everything. And the team camaraderie. Hill mentioned the van rides. I almost wrecked, Molly almost caused me to wreck at one time. Do you remember when we were up in, maybe it was that tournament, we got snowed out the second day?
That was at the Cape, yeah.
That was up on the Cape.
It was Boston College.
We'd gone some strange place to hit practice balls before the round.
Mm-hmm. And I was crushing the 4-irons, and I was so mad.
We didn't have any long sleeve team shirts. We just had the short sleeve shirts. So you guys had turtlenecks that you put on underneath them and put the team shirt on over that. And it was cold when we started. And we're driving back to the golf club to start the tournament. And I just took a quick glance in the rearview mirror, and there's Molly in the back taking off the long sleeve shirt she had under her team shirt without taking the team shirt off. Right?
I'm very good at changing in the car.
But I'm correct. That's a correct memory, right?
Probably. Yeah, pretty good at keeping that shirt on.
You wouldn't remember. But just know that the rides and everything were great. And that I know that the trip up to Dartmouth in September of 1998 was something new for all of you, and it was great. That's where we met on the first tee. We met the Dartmouth diving coach, right? Whose wife was a Bucknell grad.
I do remember that.
Yep. But, no,
That's great. Thank you. I have found over the 5 years that I've known Brad, he's got a memory like a steel cage.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyone like him? It's so impressive, Brad. It's so great. So let's dive into those memories. What was your most memorable experience as a part of the Bucknell Golf Program? Molly, start us off.
I'd say, there's so many good memories, but I'd say spring break was probably, a highlight for me, especially that first spring break where we went down to Hilton Head. Coach Tufts was all excited to show us the foundation of his and Betty's house. I'd never been on a golf trip with a bunch of my, teammates / friends before. It was just a really fun experience to get to spend a whole week golfing and, being in a warm climate and just seeing the excitement of Coach to where he, his next move was going to be, even though that was, kind of sad for us we didn't want him to go. But that spring break, it was just a really fun chance to get to, kind of all live together for a whole week and play lots of golf.
And they had a house that I wasn't anywhere around. So
we were on our best behavior.
Yeah.
Heather, how about you?
Yeah, there were a lot of firsts those couple of years. So I think we already mentioned the van rides and the Dartmouth Invitational. And then I think the first year that we had our own Bucknell Invitational was really cool. We had been going to tournaments, and then to host our own finally, that was really fun.
Great. Hilary?
This is a hard one, actually. I don't know. I think it's a combination. It's not like a certain, like a single thing that sticks out. I can think of tournaments and then things that happened with them and some that will remain unsaid. But it's an entire experience. Just the group of girls put together, and then with Coach Tufts, it was just a remarkable experience. So you get to do something that you really, really want to do, and then you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people that also have that same enthusiasm. And I don't know. I just think it was the overall experience. There wasn't just one certain thing that stands out. I can tell you Rutgers was ridiculous, or, Yale with the big hole on the ninth green or whatever. But we've had a whole bunch of stories. And I think if you put all those stories together, I think that builds it all up into Dartmouth. I can think about that with the ski jump. There's so many stories that you had. So like what Coach Tufts is saying, you were saying he's like a steel trap. He knows everything. This is great. He has 10,000 stories. I don't know. I can just keep going for each one of them. And it's just how that all builds together. And then more importantly, how that builds you, I guess, as a person. If that sounds kind of cheesy, that's fine. But you take these things and you carry them with you. And that's stuff that you can't replicate, I think.
Absolutely. Yes. Chris, how about you?
I think we've all said it, the memories and the laughter of the road trips in the van and being out at dinner and interacting. And, I think there's something to be said too, looking back on all of my, the time I had playing golf at Bucknell. And, there's something when you talk to people about saying you're a Division I athlete and played golf in college, and what comes, the respect that you're given, or so to speak, because people know you're dedicated, that you've worked hard, that your time management is spot on. Obviously, all that time spent in the van, we were trying to manage books, and we didn't have laptops back then. We barely just had gotten email, I think. So I'm reflecting on my dinosaur-ness again. But yes, I can only, Tatum and your teammates now, I can't even begin to imagine. I think maybe how much easier it would be for you guys than it was for us, literally lugging books and notepads and everything like that. But yeah, I just look back and think how lucky I was to have been a part of all of that.
That's great. Yeah, now they make sure that they have a portable speaker so we can get all Bluetooth with everybody's phone. So we make sure we have the right music for whatever van ride we're having. Priorities have changed. Let's just
say. I think we all have Walkman.
Oh yeah, you still have headphones with the
yes.
Yeah.
Molly always used to make us listen to country music, so I don't know. I lost that one. So.
I had a Discman, I think.
Oh wow. Brad, how about you? What about a memorable experience for you? You've had a lot of them at Bucknell.
I wouldn't be being fair to anybody. I don't think I really had any one special memorable thing. Was just the opportunity to be with these women that and to coach them. And I think they know I would like to have kept it up. If I'd have stayed in Lewisburg, retired, I would have. But that's it's not. It happened. But I think the experiences I had coaching them and staying in touch with, I've seen some more than others, but just to continue that. And I had the same experience, doing the men. I was really privileged. It's been great. And I've stayed in touch with some of them. And actually, Chris is living down here in the island now, and Mickey Sinkus lives here in the island. So one person from each of my teams, just all kinds of things that were really important that, and especially making that first trip up to Dartmouth, that was just to get things started was great. And everything after that, just being with them and having that as a part of my Bucknell experience was special.
I don't know, Tate. It sounds like we may want to go to Dartmouth. Unfortunately, they lost their program this year, so that's not good. Tate, why don't you go ahead and ask your second question?
What advice do you have about networking and finding a job right after Bucknell?
I'll say I was from Minnesota, and initially my plan was to go back to Minnesota, but networking wise, I had more luck staying out east, and I'm really glad I did because I met my husband and a lot of great friends. But I did get my first job from, there was a Bucknell alum who came to Bucknell and was just excited to share his work experience and try to see if he could help in any way, shape, or form getting a job. And that's what led to my first job. And even after moving back to Minnesota, there's not a lot of us out in Minnesota that are here, but there's a little bit of a network. And we had a happy hour where I met up and actually got connected with some cybersecurity opportunities around, even in Minnesota. So networking is everything. And golf too, you'll have a golf network that'll take you a lot of places where you'll get to do a lot of fun things. So yeah, well, Bucknell's been great.
That was Dave Stacy in the cybersecurity, right?
Yeah, do you know him?
Oh yeah, very well. He has since moved to Delaware.
Yeah, I know.
He lived in Blaine, right?
Yep. And he's the one who connected me with the cyber. He's connected me with a lot of people. He's a great guy.
I would say try out the externship program. I think that's what it's called. I just hosted an undergraduate last year at my work with another Bucknell grad, and it was a really good experience just for her to get to know people and get to know the work, and any internship opportunities you might look into. And then I would just say to not be afraid to try things. You've heard from the women here. We've had a lot of different experiences and a lot of different jobs throughout our lives. And, it's okay to try something for a little while and then maybe switch. So, maybe the job that you get right when you get out of Bucknell won't be the job that you have in 10 or 20 years. And that's okay. And good luck.
Thank you.
Similar type comments, yes, to the extent that you can use your internship opportunities as they come up for you, that's good. And usually how it works out is if you perform well, then you might have an opportunity. But to what Heather just said is you're not stuck in anything forever. So that might be a starting point. But in terms of networking with golf, if you or your family or you're involved with golf and that sort of thing, you know a ton of people already, right? So talk to them, just talk to people. Say, what are you doing? Or I'm interested in this, or I'd love to be like in HR, or like I am really interested in finance. And they might know, like, oh, I know someone who knows someone who can talk to you about this. It just keep your options open, and just keep dropping those seeds. And then, you don't know what's going to stick. The job boards, isn't it? I'm sure Bucknell has a huge networking opportunity with alumni who want to be involved in it. They email me all the time. I keep ignoring it. That's bad. So then, right, it's these people want, like the alums want to help you. And there are so many more opportunities for people, from people who are actually in whatever industry that you might be interested in. And to Heather's point, is you're not stuck with it forever. So just keep talking. Yeah. And that's, yeah.
Hilary, shame on you, first of all. We'll start
Why?
there.
Did I do wrong? Okay.
You're ignoring people who want help. But I will advocate hardcore for networking through the Bucknell alumni. And I talked earlier about, how I went through my career crisis and was trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do after 7 years working in politics. And truly, I went through the Bucknell Alumni Network once I kind of was like, oh, there's this whole world of sports marketing out there. Like, I think that's something I would want to go do. I went through the network and found everybody who worked at ESPN, or there was someone at Kraft Sports Group or at agencies, and literally cold emailed them and said, here's what I'm looking to do. Here's my background. You're Bucknell, I'm Bucknell. Can you just give me 30 minutes of your time? And you do do you have other people that you would be willing to put me in touch with? And just talked to as many people as I could. And ultimately the job that I got at the sports marketing agency wasn't through a Bucknell connection or anything like that. But I will 1000% guarantee you that if I hadn't had all those calls in advance and talked to all of those people, I wouldn't have known the jargon. I wouldn't have known like how to have discussions kind of more about what goes on the inside. I wouldn't have known that. And it wouldn't have put me in as solid of a position to get the job that I got. So, and even just last week, I did a mock interview with a woman who just graduated in the spring to help her prepare for an interview. Like, I am more than willing to, as Hilary said, people, we're out there, we're willing to help and want to support and want to see other Bucknellians succeed. And I can attest 1000% to the power of networking. So it may feel awkward, and it may, you may be scared trying to like send that cold email to a stranger, but trust me, do it. What's the worst that happens? They don't write you back. Well, shame on them, Hilary.
I didn't do anything. All right, so I'll do it now later.
Good.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you for the advice, everyone.
Brad, do you want to chime in there? Do you have any advice for Tate?
I'm too far removed from that. But like everyone has said, you just talk to people, and if you're in golf, people, they know people. That's what. Hey, do you have another question you can ask right away, or can I show you something now?
I have two more questions.
Okay, go.
I got something too. Okay.
Okay, so this is for the ladies. Who was the teammate you admired the most throughout your career, and why? Molly?
I'd say again, like Hilary mentioned already, that we're pretty team focused, and that's the fun part about golf is there's an individual component, but then as a team, you really get to kind of experience all kind of working towards the same goal. In our class, there were 4 of us that came in at the same time and traveled, and then we had Hilary and Bridget were a year ahead of us. And so I guess I would say the combo of Hilary and Bridget is who I looked up to. Hilary got the competitive edge and sarcastic but serious, and Bridget was, you know, back off bridge, and she was a lot of fun, and they were a really good balance. I'd say they complemented each other really well. So I'd say the combination of you know, coming in as a freshman and looking up to those two were the people I looked up to the most.
For me, it was also Hilary. When we were a new team and she came in with Bridget, she just, you know, had the skills and experience and work ethic that we needed. And, you know, she was a team player as well. So I remember there were times, you know, when obviously she and Bridget would help our team, but then there were these other moments where the rest of us, you know, we'd have our moment here and there, and it was just a great celebration. And yeah, I loved her work ethic, and was glad that she came on the team. So thanks, Hilary.
Thank you. I'm gonna I'm not gonna follow Heather because that would be weird, but no, I'm just joking. So no, I would second absolutely what Molly said. I think it was a really neat group, from what it was when I came in 1998 with Chris and Heather and Christine and Bridget, to what it became when Molly and Catherine and, you know, everyone else came on. Like it was always a very dynamic group, and everyone worked together and would try to help each other out. And no one was, I don't know, who would I admire the most? I don't know. It was a lot of dynamic personalities, but in a different way. You'd like step out of practice or whatever, or like go back to your room and like think about, okay, who did I talk to today and what can I learn from that? That was the kind of what I took away from it. Or the VAM things, it was like, who did the conversation, or this person help me with this? I wouldn't say one single person was just integral to the entire thing, except for Coach Tufts.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I looked up to Coach Tufts.
So
and
did
I think it's different too, right? I was a senior, I was kind of on my way out, but I do remember thinking, like with Hilary and Bridget, the team was in such a like a forward-looking good place. And I remember thinking, okay, Coach has set this groundwork. I got to be a part of it, you know, on the first year of it being a varsity team, and there's a solid group of girls who, you know, are freshmen who are going to take this to the next level. And it's just been so awesome to see through the years how the team has done so well, and reading about trips to Arizona and all the great travel that you guys get to do. I'm a little jealous of that, but glad to see that you're doing it.
Well, not this semester.
Well, when you can do it, yeah.
It's all right. We were lucky to get what we got. So.
Wait, Chris, so you didn't enjoy New Brunswick? Like, it was beautiful. Come on.
I mean, Princeton, that we played in the pouring rain that one year. I mean, yeah, that was gorgeous.
Okay.
All right, one last question. And this is for Brad too. So, and I'm really looking forward to his answer. What advice would you give me as the current head coach of the program? Molly.
I guess building on the team aspect again, that, you know, focusing on it, I would think it's, you know, you got kind of two aspects, because individually the team, the golfer needs to do it on their own, yet they contribute to a team. So kind of finding that right dynamic and the right kind of team atmosphere. And then, you know, and also knowing everybody is different. So, you know, you can't just coach, you have to kind of coach an individual at the same time, and knowing that they may respond to different coaching techniques. So I guess just, yeah, I mean, that would be, I'm sure you're much more qualified to be a coach than me, but that would be my advice.
I would just say, based on reading all the emails that you share with us, keep up the good work.
I would think that, yes, thank you for your emails. You're very in tune. It's fantastic. what I would think is notice when a certain player needs a little attention. And sometimes, kind of like what Molly was just saying, is you can't coach everyone to like kind of the same thing. Is, all right, well, some players may seek out attention, others might need it, but not, you know, seek it out. So it's just make sure to have time for each of the different players, because everyone has a different style. That's kind of what I would think. And then also just more so than just make sure they're all cohesive too. I mean, it's not going to be perfect all the time, but if you notice a problem with them, then shut it down. I don't know, but no, just I'm kidding, but no, just individuality. Each player is different, and each individual is different. So just to notice those things and take that extra moment, I think that would be helpful. Yeah.
And I would say, you know, Lisa, you're doing a fantastic job, and as everyone else said, thanks for keeping us posted on what the team and everyone is up to. That's great. I will say, going back to ECACs that fall, when I finished the second round and had done so much better, I just remember Coach being so excited for me that I had bounced back and that I, you know, put the first day behind me and completely turned it around. And I could just tell he was so excited for me and was rooting for me. And so I guess, Lisa, you know, to be sharing of the joy that your players all have in their accomplishments, or if they don't do so well, you know, Coach I don't think he even mentioned it on day one, how poorly I had done, but he was just so happy for me on day two. And I'll always remember that. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
I tell the girls all the time, we have to have short memories sometimes, you know, and there's a long time in 18 holes where you need to forget.
Chris is still learning that. I'm going to leave, you know, the golf stuff. I could talk about golf things forever. I would just say, when you're recruiting women, find out what their interests other than golf are, what they like. And once they join your team and once they're, find out everything. You can always talk golf, but if you can talk about the singing group Molly was in, and other, you know, just their other interests, about their majors and things like that, just so you can talk non-golf.
That's great. That's great advice. We're a big dog team. So we talk a lot about our dogs.
Okay.
So that's one thing we've got in common. That's all the questions I have. Brad, what did you want to show us?
I want to show you guys something. See if I can get closer. Can you see that?
Caddy.
Oh, is that from your Ben Hogan caddying?
Yep. Let me see if I get it. The shirt, this was the picture you can't make out. My head is Hogan teeing off, and I'm standing there holding the bag right next to him. Maybe I can. How is it?
Yeah, that's better. Look at that young Brad.
Very cool.
And this is a scorecard.
What are you talking about? He looks exactly the same.
These are the 3 balls he played the final 9 holes of that. That was Tatum. That was in the 1956 U.S. Open.
Wow, that is so cool.
And I've had it all together, and my parents had saved it. When we moved down here, we took it and put it together in that piece.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
But, you know, I've always told people I used to be able to play the game a little well and won some championships and stuff. I used to say that was my greatest experience with golf, never hit a ball. But in this hour, I think I have, that's one thing where I never hit a ball. And then there's so many years and days when I never hit a ball that were a fabulous experience coaching you people, you women, and then coaching the men. All of those days were, I used to I used to go have some awful days in the public relations office, and knowing to go just on a midweek trip to play a dual match or a triangular match. And I knew when we came home at 9 o'clock, I might be going back in the office until 1 or something like that. But it was so great to be in the van with driving out of away from campus, and within 10 minutes, I forgot about everything else except for the golf team. And that was great.
That's
Thank you,
great.
ladies.
It is a
Thank you,
wonderful,
ladies, for some great
it is a
memories.
wonderful experience. I've loved my time here so far. I love what I do. I wear many different hats. Sometimes there's just me, coach and van driver, and I can be a mom, and I can be a psychologist sometimes. So, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So I want to thank you all again for joining us this evening. It is such a pleasure and a joy to finally put names to faces. I met Hilary. Hilary came to our the alumni event that I had a few years ago, and I would love to be able to put one of those together and get everybody that we've had on these calls for the last, couple of evenings. It's just so much fun, and to hear your stories. And again, I thank you so much for taking the time out, and I hope you all stay healthy and safe in the pandemic time we've got, and keep our fingers crossed that we'll be participating in competition again in the spring. And that's all I got. Todd, back to you.
All right, Hilary, did you have something you wanted to share too, or?
I did, yes. I have to share this. This is a photo I have in my living room.
Look at that.
Look at you, Malls. Yeah. It's just like,
you're young.
It's when you had that fantastic score. I don't know, but it was just priceless. So I have many more upstairs, but that's the one that I just found. So yeah, so it's Bucknell Golf doesn't leave you is kind of the point. So
Awesome. Well, in my closing comments, I'm going to direct them first to Tatum. And again, thank you, Tatum, for taking the time out to be here. I know you've got officially 1 day left of the semester of classes, and then you're done. So congratulations, first of all, to you and your teammates and all the Bucknell students for making it through the semester on campus here. As we've talked about previously, there's only half the Patriot League that was on campus in person this year. And we were in that fortunate group. And even though we didn't get to compete, you still got to be around your teammates and get some workouts in and be together and experience a lot of camaraderie as a team. So glad for all of that. But as Coach mentioned, we're going to keep our fingers crossed that come springtime, you're on the course behind me and others, and you're out there kicking some butt and doing really well. And we're going to be cheering you on. So again, thank you for being on. And then to the guest that came on tonight, first of all, Brad, you know how I feel about you. Brad was my first mentor. He means a ton to me. He still keeps me in check every day. And I appreciate that. And you really can't say enough about what Brad has done for not only the women's golf program, but for Bucknell in general. He is an iron trap. He has memory. He is where we go now when we still have questions. So Brad, thanks so much for everything you do and have done.
Thank you. I've just been very fortunate.
And then to the ladies on the call, wow, awesome that you are all part of the beginning of women's golf at Bucknell. And you can see, Coach and I have been able to see it the past 3 nights, what the program has meant to you, what the experience has meant to you. And we're so happy we're able to bring you guys all back together. And we've talked about keeping this Bucknell women's golf family more in touch with each other. And there's really no excuses for us not to be able to do that. One of the newest sports at Bucknell with only about 25 years of being in existence at the varsity level. So golf teams aren't that big. So there's no excuse for us not to be able to keep everybody together and keep everybody informed as to what's happening. So we're going to make a really good effort to do that. Lisa does a great job touching base with her monthly newsletter that she does. So we appreciate that. And then for those of you that tuned in at home tonight to watch, thank you for doing so. And go Bison.